looking to escape from the outside world? Well, maybe you can for just a little while with some special, safe board game news for this, the week of March 25th, 2019.
We are approaching the award season for board games, and of course that means we're going to hear everyone's nominees. We're going to start off with the announcements from Board Games Geek Awards. This is their 13th run of it, so this is going to be the unlucky year. There are only the nominees. They've narrowed it down to around, I think it's 10 per category. It could be a little more, less. And you can take a look on the site right now. The game that I see that seems to be popping up the most in my eyes is The Mind, which I find interesting because I feel like that's a very hot, cold game for depending on who you are. I'm curious to see whether it will sweep because I feel like a lot of times with these awards there tends to be a game that sweeps. Not that that's a bad thing, that makes sense usually if a game sweeps a bunch of categories. But like I said, to me The Mind, I mean, while it did like Spiel des Jahres and stuff, to me it isn't like the obvious, everyone's like, yeah, that's Gloomhaven.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's going to win with the Board Game Geek crowd. If you don't know, by the way, you yourself can go vote for the games that you want to win.
There are certain, like you had to participate before, or I think you had to pay 20 Geek Gold or something.
Yeah.
So you've had to put some money in there.
Right. Depending on however you get your gold. I think we have some gold. We should vote. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of the usual suspects. You know, Roots in there, Teotihuacan. I saw Decrypto. I saw Brass and Coimbra.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the ones that we've seen. Anything jump out to you that besides The Mind?
The Mind was a big one.
Anything else interesting?
I think, like when I looked through the party games, I thought was interesting. And I remember, I was trying to remember the game. I think The Mind's on there, for example. I know, like, I had a lot of fun with The Mind, but I know some of the other games like Decrypto and stuff like that are the games that, like, I think if someone said, which one do you want to play? I'd lean more towards, in my personal opinion. But if you do vote for it, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions because, of course, I don't think we've played every single game on all that list.
We have not. Yeah, I always like the different categories that they have too. I like, they have a most innovative. They have best print and play.
I do
solo
think,
game.
yeah, they definitely do. I think a better coverage than like the Oscars, for categories and stuff.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job with it, and it's fun. It's fun to see what people are into, what they like. So yeah, I don't feel like there is maybe Root, but I don't feel like there's a Gloomhaven this year that's just going to take every category.
Or the Arkham Horror card game. I think that was another one that's...
Maybe, yeah. I think we're going to see, a little bit more variety, but...
When they do announce the winners, we will let you know, and we may even have our own video discussing our thoughts on what each game or not, so then you can discuss there if someone was robbed or not.
A board game themed TV show is in the works. It's called Above Board. It is being developed by Travis Oates, who you may remember as the co-host of an old show on G4 called Arena, alongside another board game celebrity, Will Wheaton. And this has been in the works for almost a year now. You can see some of their progress on their Facebook page. They've been going out to different conventions, getting footage here and there, interviewing people. But there was recently an article about it on Dice Tower News where they shared a little bit more behind the scenes of what maybe is going on, some of the celebrity guests they're going to have involved. The idea, according to the creator, is that it's going to be something akin to a show like Top Gear, but with board games. So it'll have segments where they play board games, teach board games, learn about games, with a comedic edge to everything. And some of those guests we've seen, they have game designers on board to have segments, as well as people like Tom Vassell, Rodney from Watch It Played, teaching them games, things like that. You can check it out at their Facebook page and website, which we'll link below, and see what's going on. What do you think? So far right now we know there's going to be 6 episodes to start, but we don't have any idea like what network they're going to be on, if this is just going to go straight online somewhere, if they're going to try to maybe shop it around to places like Netflix. But I mean, we've had Tabletop, but and of course we've had other YouTube shows. But I don't feel like there's never really been like a board game TV show with like really high production values kinds of things. What do you think about that?
The closest thing I know of is back. It was a while back, but there was a Hasbro channel.
There was?
Yes, there was. It got absorbed, and now it's like, I think, Discovery Kids or something.
Okay.
I could watch my Transformer reruns there. And they actually had, like, you remember the old, like, Nickelodeon shows, like Double Dare or something like that? They had that, except it's like a giant Monopoly board, a bit more like game showy like that.
Right.
And I'm curious now comparing it to Top Gear. I know for me, because I've watched a lot of Top Gear, and it is a car show, and they have segments where they just focus and review the car, and I assume that would be actually reviewing a board game or something. But a lot of it comes from the most popular things are because we gave them, $5,000 or something to buy a car and make it across the Zimbabwe desert. Are they like, we're going to give you a board game, and your goal is to make it from the coast?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, different kinds of challenges or something.
I'm wondering, how can you do that with a board game, though?
I think what they meant by what they're trying to compare it to Top Gear is really the chemistry and the humor between the hosts. But maybe there's stuff like that.
That's definitely the thing, because I think when your opinions, the whole reason why Clarkson left Top Gear initially and stuff. A lot of I think the show came from the chemistry of the three hosts. So when they replaced them, I think it definitely went down in views, if I recall. So that's definitely the thing they got. I'm going to keep saying definitely like 6 more times. That's what they need to focus on, I think, for this to be successful. Is it can't just be like, oh, look, it's Will Wheaton because he's Will Wheaton. No, they got to get all of them have to match together.
The thing that it kind of looked like that made me think of they showed some behind the scenes of them filming and stuff, was it almost made me think of a late night show when they would have the segments, not a regular interview, but like we got a celebrity chef to come on and show us how to cook something, or an animal handler. If they like more stuff like that, or like this designer is going to come on and he's going to show us this weird game, or I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibility and potential, but yeah, I really wonder where they're going to put this out and how big the market will be for it, depending on. I think they got to find the right home.
That's absolutely true.
If it goes somewhere,
if it goes on something like HBO, I don't know how many people there will want to watch it unless they have some sex scenes in there.
even Netflix, I mean, that's a hard sell. But I don't know. Maybe something like one of those channels, like a Hulu or something.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, or maybe some, there's so many different like internet networks that pop up here and there. Anyway, we will find out when the show launches. They don't believe they have a date yet, but we will see. It's called Above Board, and we'll keep following it.
WizKids announced a bunch of new games to be coming out this year. We've got 3 games coming out in the summer. We've got Palm Trees, which is sort of a dexterity game where you're going to hold cards in your hand. Some of them you can just hold. Some like coconut cards may have weird rules onto them. And once a card drops, that's when it ends, and you see whoever has the best palm tree, I guess is the idea that you're holding up there. We also got a Europa base alpha, which is about building bases on the moon Europa, in which you'll be using dice and cards to try to build up your base, and also sort of mess around with your other players by giving them harder things onto their own base in order to see if they can build the base or not. We also got Merlin's Beast Hunt. You are all wizards in a battle where Merlin's decided you've got to corral these monsters. So I guess you're all sort of magic cowboys. And there'll be different beasts, and you'll be putting dice around them to try to make the corrals around these monsters to score points. And then finally, coming in October, we've got Flotilla, which is sort of this alternate history where when the U.S. was testing nukes, they sort of screwed up a little bit, and the world flooded. It's totally not Waterworld. I'm curious what your thoughts, which ones you want. I think the Flotilla one is the one that interests me the most out of them all.
Flotilla seems like the one with the most kind of production value behind it, the most like this is a gamer's game.
It's also the one we know a price to.
Yeah, price.
Yeah, the others were 2 in June and 1 in August. I think the Merlin one was August, but all probably things to check out during Gen Con.
And I believe the designers behind that one had some other interesting games under their belt, like Onimaru was one of the ones they had designed. The other 3, the first thing I thought was interesting was because I was interested, and they announced all these so close together, and I was looking at, I was like, are they all like from the same people? But it seems like they're all from designers with maybe only 2 or 3 games under their belt. So it seems like they're really experimenting and just kind of letting like new, interesting, different people come in and put out games that I think is cool. The Palm Trees one sounds very weird and funny.
I can't wait to build up my Alolan Executor.
Holding up cards in your fingers, and there's a mode they said where you're in teams, so one player is putting the cards. Like that could be a very funny party game.
Yeah.
I think the one that sounded the least interesting to me was the Europa one, which I don't really like the idea that much of just I'm gonna play things to mess you up. That it's like take that kind of thing. Didn't sound like my cup of tea, but I don't know. There's the potential for these to be some fun games, but I think there's also the potential for probably, if I had to guess, most of them to be forgotten in a year's time.
Well, luckily, most of them, it sounds like, will be coming out around or before Gen Con, so you might be able to try them out there. Luckily, Palm Trees will be one of them, so that's the one. I agree with you. Palm Trees and I think Flotilla sound the most interesting one. I think it's the exact opposite. One's the most gamey with all the, and also thematically that we like. And I think dexterity games are ones like, it's still fun usually to play once or twice.
And it didn't sound like any other dexterity game I've ever seen, so.
So you can check out most of these. Will be coming out either in June or August, with Flotilla coming in October.
And now we've got 3 brand new licensed games that were announced from 3 different companies, but we're combining them into one news story. First, if you are a fan of Labyrinth, the classic Jim Henson, David Bowie movie, River Horse is producing a role-playing game based on that movie, which includes its own simple rules for people who are new to RPGs, or you could also take the lore and the setting from it and adapt that story to different role-playing games, a system that you prefer. Next up, Steamforged is continuing with taking video game properties and translating them into board games. They've got Ni no Kuni 2, which is a cooperative game based on that video game series, which is, you know, very Studio Ghibli-esque, has some of the people from Studio Ghibli involved in it, and you're going to be going on quests and hunting down monsters. And then the last one we've got for you is Die Hard, the Nakatomi heist game, which comes from USAopoly, also their division called the OP or the OP. I'm not sure how they want you to say it. These are the same people who did things like the Hogwarts, Harry Potter Hogwarts battle card game. So, you know, they've been trying to reach out into these more gamer-esque things. And this is going to actually be a one versus all game where one player is playing John McClane in Die Hard and everyone else is sort of one of the robbers trying to stop him and get them out of that building, you know, because he's messing up all their plans. So 3 very, very different games, very different experiences,
And
very
different
different source materials, different publishers. Which ones of these catch your eye the most?
All right, so looking at each one, the River Horse one, I'm not that I don't like, but I'm not crazy about.
Labyrinth.
Yeah. But when I think of all the miniature stuff, so an RPG book sounds a bit more interesting. And I also think that's also RPGs in a world are almost a bit rewarding to fans because it's not, if it's bad, usually you can fix an RPG compared to if you have a bad board game, you're like, well, that's it.
Yeah, it could be cool if you're just a fan, just as a collector's item to look through and read about.
The next one, which I want to save Die Hard for last.
Yeah, then we can go to Ni no Kuni.
Thank you, Ni no Kuni.
You're welcome.
I'm a little bit hesitant on that one because I haven't played Ni no Kuni, but it occurs to me it's a JRPG. And we played the Dark Souls game from them, and they really made sure you wanted to have that grindy element. So I'm afraid that's going to be a very grindy game.
Yeah, I will say I'm hesitant as well. First of all, I haven't played the Ni no Kuni video games. Have you?
No, I haven't.
So I don't, even though I think they look cool, I don't have experience with them.
But my fear is they capture the wrong part of the game.
I think that I will say, to me, Steamforged has yet to truly prove themselves. I've heard good things about some of their other games, but some are still kind of haven't fully come out yet. And I still am at this place with them where I'm like, I'm interested in what they're doing, and they certainly make big, exciting-looking games, but I'm not fully sold yet. So yeah, I'm with you in there. I'm a little hesitant.
But that one isn't that a card game, more card and stuff? It's not all a bunch of miniatures?
Ni no Kuni?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's a tabletop game. Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Because I know the other 2 ones that come to mind right away, it was Dark Souls that I mentioned and the Horizon, where it's like all these minis, you know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I could be wrong. And finally, Die Hard. Maybe it won't be like the amazing games because I won't play, but I think it'll be probably the one I have the most fun with. I like Die Hard, and I'm glad to have another Christmas game.
Yeah, I will say Die Hard is a weird one to me. I like that it's one versus all in one sense, but I feel like who's not going to want to be John McClane?
Of course.
So I almost feel like I hope it has a solo mode, because that, to me, seems more like what the spirit of Die Hard is, and I feel like it's not going to be that, or maybe even a 1v1 where like one player's Hans Gruber could be interesting, but it seems like the fun of Die Hard is being the one against many. And
yeah, you want to say the quote that I won't.
Yeah, so I don't know. I want to see how it turns out. It sounds cool. Love the movie, but yeah, that's my only concern with that one. But I'm definitely very, very interested to try it out. So all these games are, I believe, slated for release later this year. Let us know which of these properties you're jonesing for.
Finally, let's see what games you can now purchase. We've got Res Arcana, which is from the same game designer as Race for the Galaxy. We've also got Call to Adventure, a new fantasy board game. We've also got some expansions, Smash Up World Tour International Incident. And finally, we've got the whole Star Wars X-Wing Wave 3, which is part of the new release of them bringing back some new ships as well as some old ones because they do a whole new format for that. So I'm just curious about Res Arcana because that's a pretty big game, Race for the Galaxy. I'm curious how this will play out.
Yeah, it sounded like a pretty cool premise. I think Res Arcana could be a big title. Call to Adventure, I'm really interested in. It's like a storytelling game from Brotherwise, and we're a sucker for those types of games. But I think both of those have the potential to be really cool releases this week.
And of course, Smash Up is always that's the kind of game where more expansions are always good.
It's Smash Up.
Yeah. And X-Wing, I guess, if you're into it, yeah.
It's more ships.
Let us know if you're planning to buy any of those or already have. And of course, the other stories as well. Which of those properties do you think is going to be the best in a board game, or which properties should they be making? Do you think? As well as we said earlier, what you're voting for best games for Board Game Geek's Geek Awards for 2018.
Yeah,
you can let us know
snubbed?
Right down below.
Talk to us in the comments or on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, our website, rollforcrit.com. Very, very easy to do. We'd love to hear from you. But until later in the week, when you watch more of our videos that we release almost every single day, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was the Roll for Crit News Roundup. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.